Christianity centers around one's relationship with God, and churches are the cornerstone of this relationship. In recent years, many churches have incorporated audiovisual technologies to engage their congregation with better sound reproduction and visual acuity. Creating this immersive environment invariably evokes a deeper emotional response and creates a greater impact for worshippers.
In this world with its many distractions, the church has become a sanctuary for many to uplift their spirit and faith. And using visual technologies innovatively and effectively makes worship more engaging. Imagine going to the restaurant where the finest ingredients are used, but the ambiance and food plating are mediocre. The experience will undoubtedly be deflated. It is the same in the church environment as you want to engage all the senses of the worshipper. Worshippers should feel a sense of awe and spiritual uplifting the moment they enter the places of worship. The space before entering the sanctuary or worship auditorium should also evoke a sense of excitement, wonder, and introspection of their relationship with God.
Adding soothing music and digital displays of spiritual messages along the walkway to the sanctuary will invariably also evoke a powerful sense of belonging. Evening services incorporating lighting and projection mapping to amplify a special atmosphere also contributes to conditioning the worshipper's frame of mind to receive God's message, which is the goal in leveraging technology.
It is very common to see visual displays like projectors or LED, LCD video walls being installed strategically within the sanctuary or worship auditoriums in many churches for worshippers to follow the service. And these displays are oftentimes extended to additional venues within the church premises to accommodate the overflow of worshippers. Technology has improved by leaps and bounds. Churches can now install laser-based projectors that are brighter, last longer, and more environmentally friendly. LED and LCD video walls also provide sharper and more vibrant colors as compared to years ago. So, why not take it one step further?
Projectors can now do more than just project words, images, and videos onto screens. A new world of visual experience can be achieved by projection mapping. While visual content can be easily updated and changed every week, LED video walls can also create a unique background by beaming remote worshippers onto the stage. Uniting on-site and remote worshippers as one family will create an inimitable spiritual experience. Unified collaboration solutions can also enhance the experience and facilitate the sharing of information in Sunday schools and church committee meetings.
Barco is in a unique position. We have the full range of display solutions, projectors, LED, and LCD displays, video walls, as well as complementing technologies such as image processors and switches. We have the ecosystem with the right partners to curate an engaging experience for worshippers. From input to output, we have solutions for the entire visual chain. Investing in value-adding technologies can be seen as investing for the future of the church. By using a single brand for your visual needs, you can scale up progressively without any technological incompatibility issues. Barco, enabling bright outcomes.
Connect with a Barco executive for more details. Christianity centers around one's relationship with God, and churches are the cornerstone of this relationship. In recent years, many churches have incorporated audiovisual technologies to engage their congregation with better sound reproduction and visual acuity. Creating this immersive environment invariably evokes a deeper emotional response and creates a greater impact for worshippers.
In this world with its many distractions, the church has become a sanctuary for many to uplift their spirit and faith. And using visual technologies innovatively and effectively makes worship more engaging. Imagine going to the restaurant where the finest ingredients are used, but the ambiance and food plating are mediocre. The experience will undoubtedly be deflated. It is the same in the church environment as you want to engage all the senses of the worshipper. Worshippers should feel a sense of awe and spiritual uplifting the moment they enter the places of worship. The space before entering the sanctuary or worship auditorium should also evoke a sense of excitement, wonder, and introspection of their relationship with God.
Adding soothing music and digital displays of spiritual messages along the walkway to the sanctuary will invariably also evoke a powerful sense of belonging. Evening services incorporating lighting and projection mapping to amplify a special atmosphere also contributes to conditioning the worshipper's frame of mind to receive God's message, which is the goal in leveraging technology.
It is very common to see visual displays like projectors or LCD video walls being installed strategically within the sanctuary or worship auditoriums in many churches for worshippers to follow the service. And these displays are oftentimes extended to additional venues within the church premises to accommodate the overflow of worshippers. Technology has improved by leaps and bounds. Churches can now install laser-based projectors that are brighter, last longer, and more environmentally friendly. LED and LCD video walls also provide sharper and more vibrant colors as compared to years ago. So, why not take it one step further?
Projectors can now do more than just project words, images and videos onto screens. A new world of visual experience can be achieved by projection mapping. While visual content can be easily updated and changed every week, LED video walls can also create a unique background by beaming remote worshippers onto the stage. Uniting on-site and remote worshippers as one family will create an inimitable spiritual experience. Unified collaboration solutions can also enhance the experience and facilitate the sharing of information in Sunday schools and church committee meetings.
Barco is in a unique position. We have the full range of display solutions, projectors, LED and LCD displays, video walls, as well as complementing technologies such as image processors and switches. We have the ecosystem with the right partners to curate an engaging experience for worshippers. From input to output, we have solutions for the entire visual chain. Investing in value-adding technologies can be seen as investing for the future of the church. By using a single brand for your visual needs, you can scale up progressively without any technological incompatibility issues. Barco, enabling bright outcomes.
Connect with a Barco executive for more details.
Hi, welcome to our webinar on the what, where, when and why of visual displays for churches. For the first part of our presentation today, we have Stephen Yeo, Technical Director, Hope Church Singapore. And you'll hear from Robert Su, Founder and Principal Consultant of Cogent Acoustics, later in part 2. Do note that your audio and video has been disabled, and if you'd like to communicate with us, please use the Q&A function in the Zoom platform. Today's webinar is exclusively sponsored by Barco, and in fact, we are recording this session from the Barco Experience Center in Singapore. We'd also like to invite you to join our AVnTech4Church Facebook community if you have not. The page gives you access to past webinar recordings and other reading materials. All right, let me hand you over to Stephen to start the presentation. Stephen, all yours.
Thank you, Thomas. Today we'll be sharing on the what, where, when, and why of video displays for churches. There are two big topics that we'll be covering today, and it's on the differences in technology and performance between similar type of display system used. Namely, there are the LCD and the DLP projectors. It will be the imaging technology part. Then there's the laser, LED, and lamp projector, which talks about the light source technology. Third part is on the front projection and the rear projection differences. Fourth part would be the LED video wall and the LCD video wall differences. Then we move into determining the image or the screen size requirement for different venues and application. Let's jump into the first part. The LCD and the DLP projectors, what are the differences? Okay, there are two main parts. LCD is called liquid crystal display, the term, and DLP is actually termed as digital light processing. Now, let's look into LCD technology a little bit more detailed now. How does the LCD projector produce a picture? Now, in this slide, you see a sensor and a LCD panel that is translucent. The screen is created and the image is built into that small translucent screen. There are thousands of pixels inside. Each pixel consists of 3 subpixels with colors red, green, and blue. In the 3-chip LCD, most generic projectors use a single LCD to create the image, whereas the higher-end LCD will use 3 LCD chips. So the 3 LCD chip actually joins the red, green, and blue light simultaneously into one. Now, this is an example of the 3-chip LCD. Okay, a representation of how the red and the green and the blue color, when it's combined together, produce a picture. The 3-chip LCD basically sends the light into the LCD panel through mirrors, dichroic mirrors. And if you see on these slides on the top right corner, where the lamp sends the light source out, this color is now split into 3 components, the red, green, and blue, and it now is joins in the middle through this prism. And so this picture is the so-called the physical LCD that we removed from a projector with this 3 LCD screen being placed together. Okay, that's how the image is being projected. How about DLP projectors? Okay, how does DLP compare? The DLP projector works using the digital micro mirror device, or DMD, which constantly changes its position towards away from the direction of the projection to create image. It's just like micro mirrors. You imagine the light hitting the mirror and the mirror reflects the light on and off. So now, in this diagram, this is how it looks like. A 1-chip DLP uses a rotating color wheel. If you look from the top left of the image, the light source goes through 6-segment color filter. Some are 3-segment, 4-segment, some are 6 segments color filter. And this rotating color wheel will be the one that is producing the different colors. This light will then pass through the lens into the mirror and then reflect to the DLP panels, okay, on the middle top. Now, the light is being captured by the sensor and then reproduced back through a series of lenses into this image. So the one DLP chip uses color wheel. This is a sample of color wheel. There are 3 red, green, and blue color wheel. As I mentioned, there is also an additional of white and some additional of yellow or cyan inside as well, besides the red, green, and blue. So different manufacturers produce different technology in terms of the color view. Some projector actually uses a small DLP chip like this photo here that contains thousands of mirrors, micro mirrors inside. And each of these mirrors are actually as small as your blood platelet, your red blood cell platelet. And so this image is actually a electron microscope image of one single mirror. There'll be thousands of them inside. So this little mirror are actually being charged and being turned forward and backward to reflect the light. Okay, so in this webinar, it's not about the detail of the technology, just to highlight that there's such a miniaturized micro digital stuff that is happening inside the projector. Okay, I want to move on now quickly to the color brightness, and this is how our average layman people would need to understand. The color brightness in projection is very critical. Not just the white brightness, but the color brightness. The color brightness is represented by the color red, green, and blue together. In this example of photos of these 4 images, right, on the left, you have a projector that is stated white light output 3000 lumens, color light output 3000 lumens. Whereas on the right side, you have a projector that is stated white light output 3000 lumens. Correct, same, but the color light output is much lower, it's at 790 lumens. Now, when you have the color light output that is reduced, subdued, so you get the image that's a little bit more not so color vibrant. So do look out for this data on the color brightness, or sometimes it's published as color light output in your spec sheet of the projector that you are comparing. So in general, there is the 3-chip LCD and 1-chip LCD comparison nowadays is common in the market. And so sometimes some manufacturer will not publish the information sufficiently. And so the consumer then will have to compare this internally to see that how is the image, is it better in the color brightness, in the color saturation or not? Is it sharp or not in the resolution? And is it better in the contrast? Okay, so this generalization of these 2 technology is based on general market view. There are, however, DLP projectors manufacturers that produce high color brightness and better contrast ratio as well in their projector system. So do look out for this. Another comparison is sometimes what we call the artifacts that is present in projectors. So there will be limitation. Sometimes there is this rainbow artifacts, this kind of like a color that seems to be like moving across. So 3-chip LCD will less have this color rainbow, but the DLP sometimes possible to have this rainbow. It's not always, but there is a possibility for that. It's due to the rotating color wheel. And the rotation of the color wheel produces these effects. Now, there is also the screen door artifacts. Screen door is basically like every pixel has a little box around it that has no pixel, and that is the screen door. And so when you are viewing it close up, some LCD projectors do show up those small boxes in your resolution. Whereas DLP, usually they don't have these screen door artifacts. For the LCD, there is also possible color fringing artifacts, as in that the color, the red and the blue and the green color don't match up exactly. And so this sensor placement, if let's say over time of usage and wear and tear or mechanical movement, the color don't align. And when the 3 color don't align, you get this fringing artifacts throughout the whole time. And it cannot be fixed on the processor itself. Whereas for the DLP projector, there's little to no color fringing artifacts because there is no combining involved. The light pass through the color wheel, and it is as it is. So look out for some of these limitations as well in these 2 technology. Now for lifespan, usually LCD being the light passing through, combining, may have shorter lifespan. DLP usually spot a longer lifespan on the panels. For the LCD, because of the 3 lenses and so on, they are not good in dusty and hazy environment. So if your place have like a lot of dust and haze, let's say from the stage lightings, and this haze can get into the projectors itself. Whereas for the DLP, it is actually sealed. The whole assembly is dust-proof and haze-proof in a sense. So it's good for this kind of environment. Now for reliability in terms of long use, okay, we're talking about like 5 years and onwards. So the LCD do get degradation more, whereas the DLP is more reliable on the long-term usage. Now here is just a short summary on what I've mentioned, just key points for you to take note of. LCD, DLP projector, actually both can look quite great. They're getting better each passing year. Technology are being added, things are being put in to mitigate some of the challenges each technology has, and they become better over time. So a single brightness number, take note, do not provide the information needed to understand the projector's performance. So the word brightness sometimes in like a brochure, they may not tell the difference. You got to look for color brightness and white brightness. Okay, look out for these two aspects. Ask the sales, ask the spec sheet as well, the technical spec sheet for such info. So the high color output is really needed, especially when you're projecting to a bright ambient environment, typically found in churches where the auditorium or the room is also lit for people to read and write. And so the projection do need more color brightness in it. Okay, so just general performance, the 3-chip DLP projector is the best of all, hands down, but it does come with a premium of the price. Then down would be the 3 LCD or the 1-chip DLP. These two are kind of like in the middle range. That's where most of our general market is, and we had to choose carefully between these two. Then the 1-chip LCD would be the lowest in the order. It's also the cheapest of all kind. So sometimes if at a lower requirement, then this 1-chip LCD will also do the job. So oftentimes it comes to the availability, the price, the suitability lens, meaning that the lens system that you have, whether it's interchangeable or not, the service support from the supplier, and what the dealer carries, the different models inside. So do look out for the various components in all this and choose your projector with this. I hope this helps in your decision making. Now, I'll move on to another part on laser, LED and lamp projectors. These are all talked about as well. And actually it refers to the light source, how the light is being produced. Okay, so the earlier portion is about how the image is being produced, but now we talk about the light itself. Okay, so these three are quite common. Laser diodes are actually in this photo here. This has been a new technology and is catching up fast and is generally better. The laser diode is actually a small little panel. You just imagine those laser pointer that you have. Okay, this laser pointer is all packed into this, and like in this array, you got about 6 by 4 laser points being packed into one small diode module. And so that becomes the light output. Now the LED module is also quite typical in, like, let's say our torchlight and so on, you use LED light. And these are the light emitting diodes. They look like this, and then they emit a small light like your torchlight. Okay. And then the third one is the old lamp module. You know, it's been the conventional for many years. And this lamp module is kind of bigger and bulkier. It has xenon or whatever chemical gas inside that when the electricity pass through, right, it will light up. Okay. Now that also can contain some other gas and content that is may not be good for the environment, the lamp module. So now let's do a detailed comparison. Laser, LED and lamp, just side by side compare to help you kind of like see the differences. In general, 20,000 lamp hours for the laser, okay? 20,000, if you divide by 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that is almost like a school kind of operating timing. For 50 weeks a year, you will get a 10-year of lifespan on average, assuming all other parts are not, don't fail during that period. So the laser diode itself has a long lifespan. LED, in fact, is even longer. Some claim 30,000 and so on, 30,000 hours, I mean. So you get 10 years plus of usage, okay? 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for that 10 years plus. Whereas for the lamp, it's lesser. Some technology has catch up and then it made it to like 5,000 hours for the lamp life. So that's about 2.5 years of usage based on this comparison, okay? Now, laser diodes don't slowly fail. The diode itself will just keep on going. LED diode also don't slowly degrade, whereas the lamp will slowly degrade over time. So after it reached, like for the lamp, after, like say, half-life of it, like, let's say 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you see that the image become dimmer and the color is not so vibrant anymore. And that's the lamp's technology. We may not even like make it to fail. Sometimes in the middle of it, we will just have to change the lamp out. Even though it hasn't reached its full potential yet. It's due to that the color brightness for the lamp has degraded more. The lamp has mercury inside, whereas LED and laser do not contain any mercury. Now, for the image-wise, the laser color comes out much more precise, the accuracy in it, and it's very stable in the brightness. It's constant brightness. LED also similar. LED, it has, although some low color accuracy, low brightness. Somehow they, at this point of technology, they are unable to bring a higher output yet. But I'm sure manufacturer will put in effort to make LED as bright as possible as well. Okay, so as of now, in the general market, most LED projectors are those pico and micro kind of projector. They're all small size. It's almost like a torchlight kind of a miniaturization, right? And then they put in all the lens and everything. So the LED projector are not so color accurate and not as bright as compared to the other two counterparts. Lamp has good accuracy in the beginning, but as it ages, the brightness will fade and change over time. Now, it maintains brightness over the life cycle for laser. LED also maintains the same brightness, but lamp does not maintain the brightness over the life cycle. It kind of like a taper down, as it goes. Okay. Now, how about ease of operation? Laser will instantly on and instantly off. Same with LED. You don't have to wait for it to boot up and turn off. No cooling off required during that period. So immediately you can just power down and you'll be okay. But for lamp projector, you do need to wait for it to kind of like warm up and brighten. And for the cooling period also, you cannot just switch off the projector immediately. You have to do a soft off. The projector will cool down maybe a minute or two. Then you can power off the units. For maintenance, for laser and LED, literally no or very, very low maintenance required, which is good. But for the lamp projector, there are lamps need to be replaced and there's additional costs as well. For overall cost, laser is greater energy efficient and then it does come with a higher price. Okay? But for the LED, it's also great in energy efficient, moderate price, more cost effective if you're using it for high duration. Okay? LED and laser, long running usage is good. Whereas for the lamp, less energy efficient, it takes up more power, but it's lower priced. Okay, and it may cost more in terms of the operation, in terms of power efficiency. So for those projector that is running for a short duration, then the lamp base is still fine. But usually if you do a lot more duration, I would recommend the laser or the projectors for larger installs. In summary, do factor in the total cost in your ownership, which is your unit itself, the cost of maintenance, the lamp purchases, and the electricity cost. Sometimes the maintenance of like some projector that is hung above at the ceiling that needs a lot of scaffold and so on to move and make the change is even more costlier. And so it is better then to go with laser projection, where you don't need to do any more maintenance. Generally, the lamp will just keep on going. Laser projector is rapidly becoming a norm. Pricing has leveled up considerably over the past 5 years. There are still lamp-based projector out there, okay, but no doubt laser will slowly on the up market. I want to share now on the projection, the front projection and the rear projection. Which one to choose for your venue? Okay, the front projection is actually basically the light reflect off the screen. Okay, whereas for the rear, the projection pass through diffused light through the screen. Okay, the screen typically is placed against the wall for the front projection, but for the rear, it's placed away from the wall. Now, for a specific amount of space is needed in front of the projector for the image to be seen. So both sides also needs space in front or behind, whichever you deploy it. So this simple diagram shows you how projections are placed. If it's in front, then it will also take up a bit of the audience seating areas. Okay, for the rear projection, it still take up the same amount of space, but the usable space behind the projection will be not so critical. So for the placement of projector, as I mentioned, in front of the screen for the front projection, okay? And for it is visible to the audience. That's one of the thing to take note. If it's placed on the floor, it will take up floor space, but if it's mounted on the ceiling, then we can make use of the floor space, all right? So for the rear, it is not visible to audience. That's one of the good points as well. The projector can also be mounted on the ceiling and free up the space below. Just take note that it must not be obstructed by anything in between. So this diagram just shows a simple illustration how a projector hung on the ceiling and placed at the back goes through the front projection. And again, another rear projection is hung on the top from the back. Now for unwanted shadows, anything sitting in front, presenter, singer, musician, props like this will generate a shadow, an unwanted shadow. So must take note to avoid having things in front. So the screen surface can also be disturbing some to the audience. Sometimes the white projection screen in the middle of nowhere, whereas a rear projection screen is darker in general. And so it kind of like disappears, it blends in with the set. And no unwanted shadow from presenter, singer, musician, or props in front, because at the back there will be none of this. For ambience lighting, front projection, the image is weakened by the ambience light, because the screen itself will reflect the light off the ambience from the auditorium light or the stage lighting that's being reflected. And so the screen will appear dimmer for the front projection. Whereas for rear projection, it is not weakened by the ambient light, because the dark surface of the screen actually reflect less of the ambient light. So in the audience area, we do need to darken it for the front projection in order to achieve a better result. Whereas for the rear projection, audience area may not need to be darkened and we can still achieve a reasonable result. Okay, here ends a few comparison for the screen. Later on, Robert will talk more on the screen technology itself. Now I'll move on to LED video wall and LCD video wall. This is a new technology that is saturating a lot of the places, especially in churches as well. So the LED video wall is actually made up of many small LED panels. Okay, like in on this photo, you see the panel is made of modules. I have here a panel that is represented this way. And then the back of the panel may look something like this. Okay, and this is how the modules and the cabinet is built. There are different shapes and sizes. And the module itself carries the LED panels. The individual LEDs all dotted on the surface here. Whereas the power, cabling, circuit boards, and so on is actually housed at the back in the cabinet. The LED video wall, unlike LCD, it has no glass or color filter on the LED panel. Every individual diodes emits the color and the light. Each panel has hundreds of tiny little light source. Okay. Hundreds of them dotted all throughout here in equal space. And technician can actually add more and more of these panels into the wall to create a massive, large wall. Now in LED, there is the difference between each pixel. Each pixel to pixel, we call this the pixel pitch. The dimension between the pixel, the pitch itself, is the distance between each pixel will separate between the two resolution each. For example, in this image, you have a 4.8 millimeter pixel pitch from the center of the LED to the next center LED. So this will give you a 4.8 millimeter LED. And so the smaller the pixel, the smaller the distance between each pixel, then it means that there are more pixels per square inch, and you get a more dense, more higher resolution per module. For pixel pitch that is best for each scenario, how do we determine? Usually, we use a general guide of 1 meter per millimeter of pixel pitch. So meaning, if you have a screen that is, let's say, 4.8 millimeter in terms of pixel pitch, then we will just generally recommend that the viewing audience will be from 4.8 meters away or further. And then your screen will be viewed as like there's no pixelation. So of course, if it's a finer pitch, then you can go nearer to the wall and you still have a good image. Generally, we'll just times 3. If let's say the pixel is 4.8 m, so if you times 3, it will be like about 12 to 15 meters away. And so that viewing distance will be the ideal viewing distance. Okay. Next is the LCD video wall. Now, LCD video wall is actually a large surface of video images built from many LCD screens. The LCD screens are designed to run longer, and the thin edge around it is called bezel. Like we have at the back of my wall here, example of a LCD video wall. The LCD video wall is actually combined together using special hardware and tools. They can stack on top each other and to form a larger image. Okay, they can be calibrated so that each image will show up across each screen, like in this picture. And so we have screens like this at the back of mine to show an example of how LCD video wall is made up. Now just do some simple comparison. The cost-wise, usually LED wall would be more expensive, whereas the LCD may cost lesser. LED wall made up of hundreds of panels, but since you can combine them in a way you can stack them up and combine, so it has no like maximum size. You can go as large as a whole stadium can fill. Whereas for LCD screen, there are some limitation in number of size. Popular ones are like 16 feet by 10 feet tall. You typically will see them in like some auditoriums and digital signages in shopping mall and so on. So the LCD wall do take up a bit of space when you are bringing it into your venue. So just take note that you need to have the floor height, because not all the LCD screen, right, it cannot go all the way to the floor. It does need to have some gaps at the bottom for the mounting of bracketry and so on. Now, for the pixel-wise, the tiles are made up of many different pixels, and so the pixel pitch determine the resolution. And so you choose the LED wall depending on the content and the distance for your viewership. So then the pitch will determine by that. Whereas for LCD, the video wall, it has a fixed resolution, usually Full HD or 4K resolution, like a typical television set. Now, for appearance, people need to view LED wall from a distance, like I mentioned earlier, due to the pitch difference. So if you view it further away, it usually looks better. So 3 times in meter-wise, if this is 4.8 mm, you times 3, then in that will be your meter viewing distance. That will be the ideal viewing distance. Whereas for LCD, you can view it up close and near. The LCD TV usually appears sharp, and the pixel resolution, you don't see all the dots and the pixelation there. Okay, so but you do have the seams around for the LCD. That's the bezel, and the bezel, the thin seam will show up. So more and more the technology coming up to have very thin bezel, that you really don't see much of the thin line anymore. Now for content, once you know the exact size of your screen, the AV provider will give you the exact dimension and resolution. Then the media content creator can customize the content to fit the number of resolution, horizontal and vertical, for the LED wall. Okay, but for LCD, usually it's just made out of many TV screens. This aspect ratio also generally is quite fixed to like 16:9 or 16:10. Whereas the LED wall, the aspect ratio is actually flexible. Again, the AV provider should give you the dimensions and resolution required once you have determined the size that you need. And then the bezel, the images all should be calculated as well, so that your words and your images don't get cut off at the bezel. Now for installation, usually time is needed for installing the LED wall, typically half a day to multiple days, depends on how large the size is. Be sure to allocate time, right? Whereas for the LCD wall, also do need time, but sometimes it's quicker because they are all made together already. You just have to assemble them in a larger piece. Brightness. The LED wall can get very bright, face melting bright, which makes them good option for outdoor event, right? But for LCD, it's bright, but not as bright as the LED, suited for indoors, all right? LCD TVs and screens are usually not waterproof, so they are not so suited for outdoor version. Now for power, LED will be much lower in power consumption, but you still need to have sufficient power in your venue to cope with it. So again, the video wall provider will have to measure the numbers and give you the specs, how much power is required. And for LCD video wall, usually a little bit more power is required. So again, make sure you have the power consumption calculated. For loading requirement, relatively lightweight for LED wall because they come in small panels, and so it's easy to transport them piece by piece. Whereas for the LCD video wall, they come in a larger panel, sometimes like 50 over 60 over inch per panel, and though you need a larger freight elevator even to get each piece to come in. All right, so I just summarized the whole thing. There is no one technology fits all. There's no such thing as the best video wall technology. Both has its merits. It all depends on your application, the content, the infrastructure. We have to plan all this thing in. So both LED and LCD have its own place in the industry here. Now, generally, for LED, mid-size to large-size wall. Okay, very shallow, no real estate much needed. Very bright, So you can use it in high brightness ambience level, perfectly seamless for unrestricted content layout. Okay, any aspect ratio it can. Whereas for LCD, usually for a smaller mid-size kind of wall, limited real estate needed as well. Great image quality when you are viewing it up close. Good viewing angles, meaning that you can see from corners to corners and you will still look good. Ideal for video-centric content, that you have heavy movement and video based, then the LCD screen will be best. Okay, here ends the first part. I have a second part on the determining the image and the screen size requirement for different venues and application. Now, this display size calculation, it is actually taken from the AVIXA version 202.01, year 2016. So it is called the display image size for 2D content in audiovisual system, or in short, DISCAS, D-I-S-C-A-S. Now, due to the time constraint, we will not go into the details of how this measurement standard is done, but I'll just run through quickly so that you have an idea of it, okay? How we determine the screen size. So in DISCAS, there will be a calculator online. You can Google for it. Here, I put in a web link for you. So basically, the user key in height image, element height, furthest viewer, distance from floor to the image. Some of this parameter is being added, and then the calculator will do the math for you. Usually for screen image consideration, the size of it, right, will be determined by these 5 areas. Okay, the application, what is it used for? The size of the full display, how close to sit to the display, the first viewer, and then how far you are sitting away from the viewer, the last row, and then how large should the information of the display be? That means the content itself, either lines of words or detailed images. Okay, so take these 5 factors and then put it into, in general, we will use the closest viewer calculation. We will use the basic decision making, which is called BDM. Okay, it's the most common type of viewing category. So in this graph, you will have this viewer sitting in the first row. You get this image, okay, of 30 degrees vertical. Okay, so good for PowerPoint slides, word processing, and spreadsheets. Okay, typical environment like office, meeting room, classrooms. Okay, and this will be the general guide we use. So for BDM calculation, they require 15:1 minimum contrast ratio. Now this graph just gives you a kind of view how to calculate the angles and the distance. As you go further and further away, the element height needs to enlarge. And so if you're able to increase the large font size, then the viewership actually can go further. So this is more detailed because they are measuring the font and the word size rather than the height of the screen. Now, it could be complicating to see that. So the older, more simpler method of calculating the height of the screen or the size of the screen, we just use the 4-6-8 rule. The 4-6-8 rule simply used by stating that the height of the image, if you times the 4, you get the viewing distance for the main row audience. And this main row audience will be the analytical viewing. For font that is small, charts, web browsing, we will need to make decision when they have to scrutinize clarity. Then just times 4 of the height of your screen. Okay, times 4. Then that will be your viewing distance for the critical analytical viewing audience. Now, if the audience is actually just general basic viewing, presentation can contain images, multimedia, general slides like now, then viewer can have a times 6 of the height. So we can go further away, 6 times the height, right? And for passive viewing, just informal viewing of video and data, like watching a movie, you are not like scrutinizing the details, so times 8 the height. So it gets further away and it still be okay. So that's a simplified general rule for calculating the height of the screen, okay? So this is just an example of the calculation. Just give an example. If you have a 100-inch display, okay, which then you calculate, you get a 49-inch tall viewable area. So this 49-inch tall, if you multiply by 4, you get about 16 feet. So it will fit into the first analytical category, okay, be at that distance. So if times 6, you get it 25 feet, it means it's further away in the middle ground. And then if you times 8, then you get it at that 33 feet away. Okay, just to give you a rough example. So this viewing distance, you have to calculate based on your venue, and then the screen size will fit accordingly. Here ends my presentation for today. I'd like to hand this time back to Thomas.
Thank you, Stephen. Hope you have enjoyed the presentation. Please note that you can start keying in your questions at any time, and we'll get to it at the end of the session. We are now going to switch over to live to give you a chance to win a prize in our simple quiz. Please bear with us as we switch.